Oh boys, this is a big one. This is a 4-piece set. This is a honor guard squad for a chaplain. And we'll go over each of these as a last look. So we'll start off with this fella. This is one of the honor guard. Okay. And this is built off an intercessor, like most things, seems like. Take that shield off, you can see a little better. Go from head to toe. The head is a placeholder. The client has some Templar helmets he's going to throw on there once these arrive, but these are just a placeholder, and the skull mask kind of ties in with the chaplain's helmet. But ignore that. That'll change. He's just going to put some Templar helmets on it later. The breastplate was removed because, as you know, if you've been here long enough, I do not like the Primaris chest plate. I think it looks terrible, and I generally remove them. So an extra plate was added with a center plate there, and then some embossed script there, which he can paint whatever lettering he would like over it when it arrives. We have a tutorial for both building armor plates and doing this sort of embossed banner. We added some cloth to the stomach, which then came down in a complex cloth. This is all green put, which makes it easy to blend. We added some armor strips to the thighs, as well as obviously some accessories here, little pouches and things, which not terribly interesting, but he's got to have them, right? He's going into battle. And we did a crux on the knee, a rope on the other leg, and some spikes, all of which we have tutorials for. Now, the interesting thing for this piece was taking a little small thin tube of plasticard or polystyrene and tying it in a loop and securing it to the waist, drilling a little tiny hole in this set of scrolls here in this ring, and then gluing it all in place. As you can see there, that was a little bit of a process. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but definitely a delicate process, and I think it turned out pretty well. So you can see the motion of this miniature as he's leaning forward pitches his accessories and his cloth a little bit like this. So we tried to follow that line because he's leaning just in the moment of leaning in to defending with his shield. Oh, before we move on, go to the backpack. Just the candles, Templar candles there, and then the arms are from the new Crusader Squad kit. The shield is from Chaplain Miniatures. This is from their Templar line. It's pretty good. The resin along the edges came out kind of wrinkled, and there were some brittle broken parts that needed to be repaired, but once those are fixed, it actually looks pretty good as far as resin cast kits go. Please excuse the snow being scraped outside. In any case, here you have some wiring that I added just to make the back of the shield look interesting, and then a power unit. And then this is a hand actually holding a grenade, but trimmed down and gap filled. It turned out pretty decent. And that is just held there with a pin, which he can glue in once he's done painting. So the second one also has a placeholder of a Reaver helmet, just for the time being. And then we also removed the chest plate and added a second chest plate, which I left kind of rough, kind of like hammered metal, the skull, and some rivets and some cloth on the stomach, which then goes down into the cloth as well. You see these folds, dynamic folds. This is our complex cloth technique. We did the hanging of a little relic on the belt, again filled with some pouches and accessories like that. Purity seal on the shoulder. Now this one has a different shield, but also from Spellcrow, comes from the same kit, which also looks really good. You can kind of see the repair spot there that needed to be fixed, but all in all, really nice, really nice. It is also left unglued, and I just built out the back of it there. Make it look a little bit more interesting. The sword is from Conversion World, and the grip is from a different sword. Just wanted it to be a chain sword in the right hand, and those are kind of harder to find sometimes, so I had to make one This one turned out pretty good. We just gap filled the palm there, and then rebuilt the grip to fit. And then the legs have some checkering along the side here. The boots on this one, the ankle area, I guess that would be the arch of the foot, was built up to look more knightly, give a little ridge there, just something interesting. And then the parchment purity seal on the leg was wrapped, and then some nails were placed, or rather sculpted, so it looks like the parchment is nailed in place. And then a little torch, a little brazier, I guess, is placed on the backpack with some fire effects. Now let's move on to the banner bearer, or the relic bearer, or the ancient, or whatever he's going to call this. This fellow here was also made from an intercessor, as they all are, pretty much. I think this is an assault intercessor, maybe. Maybe not. Anyways, this one I wanted to use a Mark 7 helmet, because at this point Mark 7 helmets are becoming more relics from a bygone era. I still think they look great. I think they're probably still one of my favorite helmets. So we used a Mark 7 and sculpted some laurels on there. Give his helmet more of a traditional look. And then the chest plate was very involved, but I think it turned out very well. So we started by building out a sub layer, and then we did strips of hammered steel on the side and in the rib arch. And we did lines, piping of polystyrene, and some rivets on either side. I think it looks pretty good. And for the belt buckle, we did a casting of a Templar icon from a shoulder pad, and then cut it out. Placed that for the belt buckle, and then we have cloth, of course, like the other two. This one is a little skull icon that I drilled a hole into and then hung from the belt. We have some more plating and rivets on the knee, and then some arches over the arch of the foot. Some more rivets drilled in. And then this is an arm from the, I believe that's from the Assault Intercessors. I believe so, the bionic arm with the plasma pistol. And then we made a little turning shield here. The Relic, we'll back out for a second. The Relic is from the Ancient that came in that special box a while ago. The decorations had to be trimmed and bent. So you can see here it is not glued in place for painting purposes. There is a little cross detail that needed to be removed, and then these purity seals were trimmed and then bent in place. See how they bend forward a little bit? That allows this to sit a little bit lower on the backpack so that it doesn't look quite so silly, and so it doesn't impact with the exhaust port on the backpack. And of course, this arm is sticky tacked in place for gluing, or excuse me, for painting purposes as well. I try to, when I can, try to make it easy on my clients for painting. If everything is glued down already, it sometimes is kind of a pain. So now the main event is the Chaplain, right? The Chaplain is based off an art that was provided. It's very cool. A lot of people have pointed to this as a reference. It's just such a cool piece. And this is how we went about it. So we started with a Chaplain from the box set with his leather coat. And I'll remove the shield for a second. We went with a Reaver helmet, which then we added some plating so that it's actually a helmet and not a bare head. Right? We added a torn cloth tabard with some truges and a belt to cover it. A knee icon, a little disc with a cross and a skull. We also elongated the sleeves, or rather continued this cloth from the robe or the coat, and built in some sleeves which cover the elbows. And the arms are from the Assault Intercessor kit. They needed to be trimmed and repositioned. The Crozius here is from the 30K, I'm not sure what they're called. This guy, it's from him. kind of. It needed to be trimmed and sectioned off and then repositioned so it's a little bit more size appropriate. And we added some spikes and some flame to it, both of which we have tutorials for, guys, if you want to learn how to do fire on your weapons. And we also wrapped the wrists and forearms in purity seals with some streaming purity seal behind it. We also posed this guy with our pinning method so that he is positioned in just the right way so that he looks a little bit dominating, and not the same pose as the other chaplains, but just enough so that his weapons look like they have a little bit of weight to them. The shoulder pads are from this guy, and the fist was covered with a skull. We'll go on to the backpack before the shield here. The backpack is a Primaris backpack with some spikes added. And then we have this backpack is from this chaplain with some spikes added, and then a cross added over the iron halo. Or rather, I guess it's just a sun. It's not a real iron halo. But anyways, with some candles, which we also have a tutorial for. And then lastly, the shield is from the same guy that gave us the shoulder pads, only we removed the fist, trimmed that down, added a skull with a little embossed area there. We added the embossed banner. So these 3D banners, we have a tutorial for those. And then this is from a Custodes shield, which was sanded down quite a bit and then blended so that it looks like it could be part of the wings. You see that? So originally we were going to make the chaplain's shield be an eagle with no wings. This is what the client had in mind. An eagle with no wings, and then the guard would actually have winged shields that we were going to make so that as they stood on either side of the chaplain, the eagle would be complete. And I like the idea of it. It just didn't look quite right. The eagle with no wings when the chaplain was by himself looked a little strange, and I think we could have pulled it off, except the winged shields also don't say Templar to me. They say more Dark Angel, Blood Angel, and we wanted to make sure that these were understood as Templar miniatures, right? The back of the shield had the hand removed, and then a Primaris, an Assault Intercessor hand was used, or arm rather, with some purity seals on it, and a pin was added, as you can see right there. And what that does is it takes up some of the tolerance and some of the gap right here, so that when he places the shield, everything is tight enough that you can position it and move it to where you want, but you don't need to glue it down yet, right? So you can actually keep changing it, keep moving it. And then once he's done painting, he can obviously glue that into place. So there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that last look. Hope it was in focus for you enough. A lot of things to handle, a lot of little bits and things. Thanks to the client for the business. Really appreciate it. This was a fun project, even though it took a little while. If you would like to learn to make stuff like this, check us out at patreon.com/lastlightcreative. If you are a patron, thank you so much for the support. And if you have a commission that you would like to submit, check us out at lastlightcreative@gmail.com, where we will send you over the forms to fill out and we'll get you scheduled. Thanks so much.